All right, looks like we're live on Facebook. All right, we are live. Welcome, LCA. We've got a couple great guests today from Ylopo. For those that don't know what Ylopo are, I'll let G and Kiwi tell a little bit about that. Great digital marketing and lead generation company. We're gonna be talking today about a powerhouse of tools through Google to help grow your business. So with that, I'm gonna get out of the way and let these guys take over. So can we get a little bit of an introduction with you guys first?
Yeah, absolutely. I'll start. So hi, everyone. My name is G. I'm one of the co-founders here at Ylopo. I'm the head of marketing and product here. We are a digital marketing platform that does everything from lead generation to lead nurture to actually working the leads with you, for you through AI and branding. So we do the full suite of tools for powering your digital marketing. If you're interested, obviously you can learn more on our website. I'm not here to talk to you necessarily about Ylopo. Today we're going to go deep on, one of the kind of newest products on the Google side, and I will save the hype for, after we hear from Kiwi.
Thanks, G. So yeah, my name's Kiwi, originally from New Zealand. That's where the Kiwi comes from. And I'm head of growth here at Ylopo. For Ylopo, I ran an SEO company, mainly dealing with plastic surgeons. So I dealt with a lot of very, very competitive sort of local Google businesses. For plastic surgeons, getting business from Google is huge. So their GMBs have to be incredibly well optimized. So I've spent the last 3 years just in the real estate space and taken a lot of my knowledge from that industry and plugging it into real estate. So feel like I've got a really good dial on what it takes to be super successful with Google My Business in the real estate space. So I'm going to share that, some of the high level stuff, and then I'll give everybody free training course that you can take, which will walk you through everything in detail, as well as a spreadsheet where you can sort of check everything off so you can totally optimize your own accounts yourself.
And so we're going to be talking about Google My Business, and the new hot topic we keep hearing about is local services ads through Google, right? That's what we're going to be talking about today.
Yep, exactly. So whatever order you want to do it, have at it.
Awesome. Yeah. Why do I talk about Google local services ads? Because I think, Google My Business, integrates well into it and is going to be an important part of this. So let's talk about that as we progress here. So Google local service ads, or LSA for sure. The high level of this product and why it's so compelling is that, and Google has been doing this in other verticals for a long time, right? The idea stems from if you are looking for Boston locksmiths because you are locked out, right? Instead of just showing you a bunch of Google ads that have not been vetted, so you don't even know if they're good locksmiths or not, Google will go ahead and screen all of these locksmiths, get their, paperwork, see how many, what their metrics are, all of this kind of stuff. And then they would put those people forward at the very top of Google as Google qualified, right? So it was a very big deal. And as you can imagine, the majority of people looking for Boston locksmith are going to click on one of those photos, for a Google qualified professional, right? So Google has extended this platform into the real estate space. And what that means is you can actually go to Google, complete a sign-up process, which is a bit of a pain, but we're going to walk through, some of the major steps. And once you go through a background check, a license check, insurance check, et cetera, you become eligible to show up at the very top of Google for when someone searches for a realtor, real estate agent, and in some cases, real estate related keyword, right? And so if someone were to type in a keyword like Miami top realtors, instead of showing all of these different ad units at the very top, we have 3 agents that are shown as Google screened or essentially Google qualified real estate agents, right? So just that brand association is so strong because you're being associated with a brand that the consumer trusts, which is Google, right?
G, can I interject one thing real quick? I want to make this clear too, because how you said it just kind of extended into the real estate space. If you look from the NAR profile of home buyer and seller, every year when buyers and sellers are surveyed, what are they looking for most in a real estate agent? What comes back every single time is number one and number two answer is they want an agent with a great reputation and that they feel like they're trustworthy. So I don't want to let that glaze over on the real estate audience here, that how important to have that trustworthy feel to a consumer. I mean, that's something we can't glaze over.
100%. And, you know, I'm going to explain the good news with this branding, but like exactly like Mike, you know, mentioned, this is incredible branding for these three agents with that consumer, right? And as a consumer, your next action step, and I'm going to walk through, you know, ratings and all this kind of stuff later, but the action step of consumer is to click on one of these ads, and you're going to see on mobile completely different experience. But bottom line is you get to Albert's profile, which by the way, a client of ours, you know, and you see some basic information about them, who they service, and you see all of their reviews, right? But, you know, the main call to action to the consumer, and, you know, most people don't scroll, right? They're looking for the call to action is to actually call Albert, right? So on mobile, there's a big fat button that says, call this number, which is where the majority of the traffic comes from. So for a Google LSA ad, what is, you know, mind-boggling to me and transformative, I think, for the industry is that these are not people you're chasing. These are, you know, not people that have registered on the site and then you have to, you know, pursue them. They are inbound calling you, right? So right there, the time efficiency and the quality is dramatically better because these are consumers who have taken the time to actually give you a phone call, and not, you know, on top of that, they're calling you specifically searching for a realtor, right? No better lead.
So the intention, the actual intention of the consumer changes dramatically versus a lead registration ad compared to, I'm looking for an agent. I feel like this person's trustworthy. I see their number and I want to call them. I mean, that's a whole different intention.
Yeah, exactly right. And, you know, so you've seen here the experience for the consumer, right? What is pretty insane in addition to how powerful this ad unit from a branding perspective and from a direct response perspective is going to be for you. What is very interesting is how Google has decided to price around this technology, right? Google actually charges you on a cost per phone call basis. So what that means is you only get charged when a consumer calls this number and that call connects, right? And so when a consumer sees you at the top of Google for top Miami realtor, you're not paying for this impression, right? In any other Google product, like these ads right here, as soon as I click on one of these ads, Google charges me money, right? In this case, when someone sees my ad where I get great branding, and even when they click on the ad itself, you are not on the hook for paying Google anything, right? And so, you know, the default is that you are ending up with a guarantee of that you are paying for a phone call, right? So quality as well as cost. Now, here's the additional step around economics and pricing that is pretty crazy, which is that when you receive a phone call, if they're calling you about a service that you do not offer or in an area you do not work, so if they're calling about rentals as an example, or, you know, about fixing their car, whatever is the case, right? And so you don't actually get charged for those phone calls, right? Why is that significant? Because if we were doing Google PPC for you or Facebook advertising for you, out of 100 leads, 25 to 30 of them are going to be renters. And when we generate those leads, we already spent the money. There's nothing we can do about it, right? We can optimize against it, but at some point you're going to get those type of people. In the Google world, you just get that refunded back to you, right? So you automatically get a higher quality lead for a cheaper cost because you don't have to deal with all of the quote unquote waste that comes out of normal marketing, right? So, you know, bottom line, I think this is a game-changing product offered by Google. I don't see why any agent out there, period, would not set up a Google Local Services ads. And from what I've seen from clients, it is not a question of, you know, how many leads I'm generating in terms of like how much I want to spend. It's spend as much as possible and try to get as many phone calls as you can, because every one of these are gold.
And when you look at it, how many times do you see a lead come in that's property specific, G? I mean, people want to know about XYZ Main Street. It's very different when somebody, their intention is to find an actual real estate agent. That's a very different type of phone call. I want to be clear on that.
Yep, exactly right. So, you know, you've kind of seen the basics of, you know, what Google Local Services ads, LSAs look like. And so, you know, I'm going to take you guys through it. You know, this is not, it may look simple, but this is not a simple product, right? And, you know, certainly if you are struggling, you know, this is not a promotion for Ylopo, but we obviously do all of this for our clients. So if you are a Ylopo client and you want to be a part of, you know, this beta, just go to ylopo.com /LSA, right? So I know there's a couple of Ylopo clients on here. So the next step in terms of optimization is one, first off, let me talk about getting your account set up, right? Because it is a pain in the ass. Only about 30% of the time when we set up LSA accounts for our clients, do they get automatically approved. So 70% of the time, there's some problem there, right? So you have to be on the spot in terms of solving these problems. The first is double check all of your information. Unlike other products where you are totally in control of your profile, you have to go to Google to approve any change, phone number, name, etc., right? And so if you screw that up, you have to go through Google's normal support channel, which is not very good, in order to change any of that information. You know, if you work with vendors, which you certainly can, a lot of times they have enterprise relationships, right? So that could speed things up. But if you're doing this yourself, you have to go through the setup process and just double check everything, right? The second, and where we see most clients fail, is that when you're working with teams and agents, the broker is the one that's carrying the insurance, right? And the team member is not on the broker's insurance, which means that it's automatically disqualified by you know, Google when you apply, right? And so what you're going to need to do to prove that you are covered by this insurance is to, you know, go find a profile of yourself on your broker's website, submit it to Google and say, hey, look, you know, I am working with this brokerage, check out my profile on the broker's website, right? We've seen typically that work, right? The third is there is actually 2 background checks that you have to do with Google. If you don't complete both, you'll be hanging out there, you know, thinking 30 days later, why am I not approved? So double check on that. And the last thing is, and we're going to talk about this more, reviews are so important when it comes to Google, right? And the best way for you to have reviews on your site is to link your Google My Business page properly, you know, to your profile. But that gets messed up a lot, right? Like if you have 10 agents in your office, you could be linked to 10 different profiles, right? So again, you want to make sure that's correct and go through Google support if any of those issues arise, right? So once you have gotten set up, let me go through some tips and things that you should think about, you know, right away, right? The first is, if you look at the advertisement, what is the consumer drawn to, right? They are drawn to photos, of course, but the number of reviews that are here, right? Now, if you see a profile that's 4 reviews and one has 3 and one is 133 5 stars, which one are you going to click on, right? So reviews are a critical component from an optimization perspective of LSA.
But
you know, go ahead.
I also want to say this too. I've seen agents struggle with this because, call it Zillow, where they see one agent in a marketplace has a ton of reviews and they're like, well, I just can't compete with that. So I'm not even going to try. I'm not going to go out of my way to get reviews. I can't get 200 reviews and win. So I do want to say, not to refute what you're saying, I do want to add, I have seen agents based on what's in their profile, based on what's in the reviews themselves, how they're worded, what's being said. You can still get people to call you even if you don't have 200 reviews. Just start getting reviews and the things will happen.
Yeah, definitely. And build slowly, right? Like you saw this profile, there's 2 agents that have very few reviews that are still showing up at the top of Google, right? So there's other factors which we'll talk about that are really important. But the data on the review side is what we've seen is if you have 0 to 50 reviews, you get about 3 phone calls per month, right? If you have 50 to 100, you get about 8 or 9 phone calls. And if you get over 100, you get like 16, right? So reviews, obviously really important. And, the thing about reviews is, first off, and I'm just telling you this straight up, is that Google can't, track if a review comes from your parent or if it comes from, a client, right? So you can get reviews in a lot of different ways. I'm a good guy, right? But there's a couple of things that disqualifies the review. The first is any review from the same IP address or MAC address automatically disqualified, right? And if you do that a lot, your account gets flagged, and either you're disabled or all of your reviews are manually reviewed, right? Which is a big problem. Any anonymous review is going to be manually reviewed by Google, which takes forever, right? So you want to get real people putting their real name on a different computer reviewing you, right? And ideally, you get all these reviews on your Google My Business page so that anyone who Googles you will see a Google profile, which Kiwi will talk more about, that has a lot of reviews, right? So
I have a question for you. I've seen this with other review platforms. Let's say it's a different computer, but let's say we're an agent closes. It's a great time to get reviews at an actual closing. If somebody whips out their laptop, their own personal laptop, but it's in the same geographic location every time, will Google flag that?
That's a good question. I don't really know the answer to that, but I imagine it's okay because, you are submitting the review once, right? But I don't know. It's a little bit of a black box when it comes to this stuff, but I know these rules are true for sure.
And from what I understand, I haven't heard anybody talk about Google flagging that in the geographical location. Some review sites do. They're very, very, stringent on that. But again, if you're having your clients come in, at a closing and you close kind of in the same location every single time, then you can have those reviews pretty much ready to go. Ask them right there to do the reviews. I've seen agents crush it with reviews that way.
Yes, and we are not the master of review strategy here. We're obviously really good on the digital marketing side. So I lean on Mike and other great agents to give their strategies. And at some point when our realtor in residence Barry gets done with our strategy, we will share it as well. Awesome. So now let's talk about how do you get way more calls, right? Because like I said, what I've seen with LSA is it's not about you saying, I want to spend $100 a day. It's about how much money you could spend because you want to spend as much as you want, right? Or you can, right? Because these leads are so valuable. So you want to get more calls. The way you get more calls, 4 things we've seen. First is Google for now. In the future, right? Google will limit you to a certain radius that you're able to be added to Google LSA, right? So, that radius for other products is around 15 miles, right? And Google eventually will rank you lower for being farther away, even if you're in a geographic area, because obviously they want to serve local agents to consumers, right? But there's not a lot of people doing Google LSA. I don't even think it's going to be way sub 1%, right? So you still have a first mover advantage here. One of those first mover advantages is that Google allows you to set a really wide geographic area. I'm talking, you're an agent in Destin or Orlando, you can set it for Lauderdale, right? Now, that's an extreme example, but if you increase your geographic footprint, you're going to get more leads. The second is you can actually tell Google when you are available to take phone calls, right? And most agents submit their business hour. Makes sense. A lot of consumers, as you can imagine, are looking for these things at night, right? So if you set your standards to evening time, all day, etc., you're going to get more leads, right? The third thing, and this is so important, because we have a lot of clients failing at this right now, answer your calls. So Google rates you based on how many phone calls you pick up, because the worst experience they can imagine is 3 agents at the top, consumer calls all 3, they all go to voicemail, and the consumer says, why am I doing this? I'm never going to search for this in Google again, right? So, you know, as crazy as sounds, given how the quality of these leads are, we are seeing nationwide only 52% of calls being picked up. Google is looking for you to be 85% plus, right? So the gap of, you know, what our agents could be doing is pretty tremendous, right?
So yeah, I also want to point out, I mentioned again, the NER's profile of home buyer and seller. What they reported last time I saw it was it took 3 attempts for a consumer to call an agent before that agent would answer their phone. So this is such an important piece. I mean, for me personally, as a real estate broker, as a real estate agent and practitioner, I want to make sure that I'm answering the phone. And somebody just wrote a question into the chat. Well, how do you know it's a LSA lead? How do you know how important this phone call is? So, I mean, I've got my own spin on that. I'm sure maybe you can give some advice too, but that's something I think we should definitely cover.
Yeah, well, this is going to be my next point. So it is a bit of a pain, you know, and the reason is that Google will call from varying phone numbers. You can imagine they have millions of phone numbers on rotation. And so it is not one phone number that's going to call you, right? Now, what a lot of clients do, and we're going to obviously automate a lot of this stuff on the Ylopo side, is they send it to an intermediary number, right? So they send it to a call action number. They send it to a 59 number. On Follow Up Boss, you can get a number, right? And these numbers do 2 things. One, because it's routed to that phone number, you know any call coming in from that number is a Google LSA ad, right? Because you're buying a separate phone number.
Can I just really interject there? I want agents to really understand this. The reason those buyers and sellers keep calling us and we don't answer is because we don't recognize the numbers. I mean, 50% plus of every call we get in these days are spam. Like we recognize, we don't get a number, we recognize the number or we don't. If we recognize it, we have a higher chance of picking it up. If we don't recognize it, we generally don't pick it up. That's just the way that the industry works. If you're able to identify, because it comes in through a call action or a follow-up boss, hey, this is definitely a lead. This is somebody that wants to talk about real estate. The chances of an agent picking up the phone and actually answering it just went way through the roof. So I think the advice is make sure you have some intermediate, how do you say that word again, G? My tongue's twisted here. Make sure you have
intermediary,
a way.
yeah.
Yes, we want to be able to identify that that person's actually calling about real estate.
100%. Yeah. And, you know, having a number is the easiest way to do that because then you have full tracking. And, you know, to a comment, you know, earlier, yeah, the phone number comes in not from Google, obviously from the buyer, which is why you could be from any phone number, right? So, you know, the second, you know, reason you would want to use a different phone number is that a lot of the platforms I just mentioned also have a broadcasting capability to contact multiple agents, right? So that way there's a lower chance that you miss out. You know, the 52% is scary to me, you know, and what we've seen is that agents will get a lot of phone calls and they miss those calls. And now you're in Google jail, right? So your flow gets completely cut off and it takes a long time for you to build back up. You know, and so very important here, we're actually Ylopo, you know, setting up an inbound call center to deal with these leads specifically because we are seeing such a high drop rate. So, you know, if that tells you anything about how important picking up all of these calls are.
So the broadcast, I want to be clear on this, it doesn't work as well for solo agents, but if you're running a team, you can have a broadcast that it's simultaneously going out to many agents at one time or ISAs if you're using ISAs. That way the phone is definitely being picked up, which is going to increase your rate of success with Google.
100%. Yeah. So last thing, reducing your costs, right? So, you know, I've sung the praises of LSA over and over again, but there is a downside to LSA, which is that we've found about 50% of the phone calls that come in are irrelevant. There, you get people calling in about locksmiths, about, you know, property taxes, about renting, whatever, right? Because a consumer can see the number, you know, telemarketer can see the number. There's software that scrapes you, you know, it's just kind of a bit of a mess, right? And so, you know, you need to make sure that you dispute those leads in order to get those refunded back to you, right? And so Google has actually an app that you can go into on your phone to dispute these leads. I think it's only Mac or iPhone, sorry. And then they also have it through their online dashboard. We've found that this process for agents obviously is very cumbersome. And so, either do it yourself or, for Ylopo clients out there, we actually dispute every lead for you. But one surefire way to even, kind of not have to worry about this, because disputes do take time to resolve, is if you end the call in under 30 seconds, Google doesn't charge you, right? So if you pick up the call, you find out they're calling about something else. Hey, sorry, I don't service that. You can immediately hang up and that call will not be charged, right? So you want to manage to get as many calls as possible, but be aware that a lot of them are going to be irrelevant. You're going to waste some time there, but at least you're not chasing these people, right? And for the leads that do qualify that you're paying for, the quality is extremely high.
So the difference between chasing business and attracting business, very distinct in this case.
Awesome. Well, I will unless there's any questions, I will let Kiwi take over.
There may be a couple of questions. Did we get to other questions in the chat here, Kiwi?
Yeah, I got the last one.
Okay.
I think we're caught up.
We're caught up. Good deal.
Okay.
Hey, G, thanks so much. I'm pretty sure that everybody was as blown away as I am when you're thinking about, wow, what a great way people look to go to shop for an agent, not just a house. I mean, when you're shopping for a house, you see XYZ Main Street. What you care about is really the house, not the agent attached to it. This is a little different. They're like, I like this person's reviews. I want to work with this person to buy or sell a house with. Whole different intent to the buyer or seller that's calling in. I love it. I'm excited about it. So thank you very much.
All right, Mike. What the heck is a roof?
A what?
A roof.
It's like a roof, like on top of a house.
Is that how you say it?
Yeah, roof. Yeah, roof. Roof. Yeah.
I just wasn't sure, man. You threw me a curveball with that one.
We're still learning to communicate with us here, in America. These guys from New Zealand come in and they don't know our terminology. That's all.
I know. I probably shouldn't be correcting anyone's English. All right, so GMB. So let me just go from a high level here. The Gmb, LSA, both products from Google, obviously, right? Couple of things one of the things they have in common big time is reviews. Reviews are incredibly important for LSA, and reviews are also incredibly important for Google My Business. So I would say about 60% of the algorithm for you showing up inside Google My Business really high is your reviews. It's having a good amount of reviews. So it's incredibly important. So I wanted to start off with that. Another sort of big difference here is Google LSA is paid. You pay per lead. GMB is free. You don't pay for any of the leads. You've just got to put in the work to optimize your account. Everyone loves free. So I'm going to show you today at a high level what you need to do to optimize your account. And then I'm also going to give you a training video you can watch, which will give you in detail all the things you got to do. Okay, so a couple of other just comparisons here. With GMB, your location matters a lot. Like if you're in downtown Minneapolis, and you're trying to rank for real estate agent or realtor in Minneapolis, and you're right in downtown, you've got a big advantage over someone who might be 30 miles outside of town trying to rank for that keyword. Okay, so your location to the areas that you're trying to rank for matters a lot. So you're generally only going to rank for where, within the near vicinity of where your office is. But there's certainly things you can do to capture the towns around you. But those who are right in the city center have a big advantage. Whereas LSA ads, not so much right now. You can pretty much, we've got clients in Marina Del Rey and Venice Beach who are ranking in Beverly Hills and Malibu, which are quite far away, super lucrative markets, but you're able to just basically plug them in and rank in those areas. So they're not doing, finding out all the local signals to be able to rank you. So there's a big difference there. The other thing is with LSA ads, you can have multiple agents do this in your office. We've got one client, Livia Monteforti in Cape Cod, Massachusetts. You look for a real estate agent, Cape Cod, Massachusetts, or at least a couple of days ago, 3 agents across the top, they're all from her office, right? So you can dominate, you can have multiple people in your office show up and sort of dominate the results. But with GMB, it's more about one location. And if you've got multiple agents in your offices competing, that kind of kills your rankings. So you really want the business owner, whoever controls that office, to have that control of that account and all the reviews going to that account. Because one of the big signals with Google My Business is your business name, address, and phone number. That's called the NAP. Name, address, and phone number needs to be consistent. So if you've got multiple agents out there using your address and putting in a different phone number, and then maybe putting the name differently, now all of a sudden Google's like, hang on, there's all these mixed signals coming from this location. We don't know what to believe, and you drop in trust.
So Kiwi, every time we talk about this, people have the same question. They're like, well, what if I use my home address as my business address? Nobody's gonna ever use my same home address because it's mine, it's unique. Can I do that?
Yeah, good question. 100%, that's what they should be doing. If you're an agent on a team, you are trying to rank, you get your own GMB, you can't just go and take your office's location and rank for that and try and take all the traffic from that. It's eventually going to get shut down, and the owner of the business is eventually going to say, hey, we need that for us. That's our location. It's not your location. So sure, you may be able to do it, but it's not a good long-term strategy. You're better to use an address you've got control of, which is, your home address or whatever else, is unique to you.
So how difficult is this to change? Let's say somebody moves, they're about to move their home address. Of course, hopefully they remember to go back into Google and change it, but how difficult is that?
Yeah, really good question. So one of the big ranking factors with Google My Business is your actual location and what we call citations. So a citation means your business name, address, and phone number showing up on a third-party site. So for example, on Yelp, on Facebook, on Yellow Pages, all of those places will list your business name, address, and phone number. And if all of those match what you've got on your Google My Business, that's basically check for trust signal, check for trust signal, check for trust signal. But now all of a sudden, if your address changes here, and over here there's a different address, there's an X mark, right? And it doesn't, and you lose trust with them. So changing addresses really kills your GMB. The only way to fix it is to go back in and update your address in all those places where it still shows the old address. So, I use a third-party company to do this called whitespark.ca. They have a citation service. They will because it's a pain in the ass going in and changing these. And you've got to know where to look. You've got to know how to do it. They've got a whole ton of people, I think in Ukraine or somewhere over there, who just go and handle all this for you. So it's pretty reasonable. But it's just time consuming and tedious. Your results will not be great for a while if you've got these conflicting addresses. So you need to get that cleaned up.
Nice. So, a couple of things, Kiwi, I want to bring up to you. With agents, you're talking about optimizing your own Google My Business. Like, you can go do this yourself, but I know agents well enough to know that people really kind of shut down when they think about, I don't know how to do this. Can someone just do it for me? How long is this going to take me? So kind of rate how difficult this is. If you really don't know what you're doing, they watch your training video how to do it, they go in to do it. What's the difficulty level?
It's super easy. It's just, you got to know what to do. So I've done, let me put in the chat here. I'm going to actually, let me share my screen. Actually, before I show you the training video and give that away, I'm going to show you some of the results. And what a optimized Google My Business account actually looks like. So when you search for like Barry Jenkins in Virginia Beach, and this is what you guys want to have happen for yourselves as well. If someone's looking for you inside Google and they type in your business name and the city you're in, it should show up on the right-hand side here. But But a well-optimized account is going to look something like this. It's going to have a nice pictures inside the office, outside the office, the map. It's going to show all your reviews, and then it's also going to show products. What are your guys' products? They're homes for sale, right? So all your listings, you know, for Barry, what we do is we post all of these into his GMB, all of his listings as actual products, and we create categories. You can look here under categories. These all have his keywords like homes for sale, Virginia Beach, homes for sale. In all his different service areas, we create categories with the keywords that we know people are searching for. And then we post into those, and this is all done through GMB. Obviously, the reviews show up down here, and then more from Barry Jenkins. And this is what we call, this is the Gmb News Feed. We also post into there. We recommend posting like 3 times a week. It's very similar to doing like a Facebook post. It's very easy. You just gotta, you know, and I wouldn't, you know, we pull stuff from his blog, just other relevant content around real estate. So that is a sort of well-optimized account. And then also, I use this from Whitespark, and it's called the Local Rank Tracker. And it helps me keep track of the SEO for all of the clients we're doing this for. So for Barry, for example, you can see here, best real estate agent, Virginia Beach. He was not, you know, in the top 100. Now he's ranking number 1. Best, you know, real estate agent near me. So if anyone in Virginia Beach types in real estate agent near me, he is also showing number 1 now, where he wasn't even in the top 100. Real estate agents near me, Virginia Beach real estate, you know, all of these terms, he wasn't in the top, you know, 100. Now he's sort of 1, 2, and 3. And honestly, we did this in 30 days, and then I had to bounce and work on a bunch of other projects. So he was ranking number 1 for about 50 keywords. And if we had kept doing it, he would still have all of those. But you can see here.
Okay, Kiwi, but let's talk about, that's great that he's number 1, but what did that actually do for his business? I remember hearing the story, but like what kind of increase in phone calls, business transactions did he have from it? Because if I remember right, it was noticeable.
Yeah. He got his phone calls went up dramatically. His walk-ins went up dramatically. You know, I did this for a client here in Las Vegas who works in an executive office. He's been there for like 5 years. He's never had a walk-in. We did this for a month, and he had 6 people walk in that office in the first month. And you know, I think 3 of them were sellers looking to sell their homes. So this stuff, you know, it's really good for the local stuff. You do need to have the local brick and mortar business or a home address. And if you're going to be going heavy with your GMB stuff, you know, you really want people to be able to walk in, or at least like, you know, be able to call.
And I also want to put this out here too, because obviously some people have security concerns. I don't want to put my home address in there. I don't want people to know where I live. And that's 100% okay. We're not telling you to do something that makes you uncomfortable. Everybody will kind of feel differently about that. Other people will look for very small office space that they can rent, very small commercial office space so they can have an address. I mean, so I've seen people do kind of a variety of things, but the impact of doing it and doing it correctly, as we're talking about, leads to real business. That's why people do it.
Yeah. And also, you know, just one other thing I'll mention, inside Google My Business, when you log in, you can create ads for Google My Business inside there. So you've actually got a paid component to Google My Business. And that's a great way to actually, it's basically like an easy button, right? So while you're waiting to rank for your organic traffic and you're doing all the optimization stuff, you can basically jump ahead of the line, and you can rank like number 1 in your area for all the local terms just by paying a bit of money. So that's something as well a lot of our clients have had really good success with. But here's the top 3 things you need to do for Google My Business. Number 1, obviously, if you haven't done it, you've got to claim the location. You've got to put your flag in the ground. What they're going to do, you just go to google.com/business. And then basically give them all your business information. They're going to send you a postcard with I think it's about a 5-digit code on it. And then once you get that code, and it takes about 4 to 5 days, comes in a little postcard. So make sure you've got someone looking out for that, because it can easily be, is it construed? Yeah, construed. I think that's the word. As garbage, right? So people might throw that away. But so just keep an eye out for that postcard and then log back in and put it in, and then you've claimed your listing. Then you need to, like I mentioned at the beginning of this, get reviews is the most important thing. And number 3 is optimize your listing. Optimize your listing. There's a lot of things you need to do. I'm not going to go over all of them today, but I'm going to show you how to get all of them. Number 1 is I've got this spreadsheet, which kind of gives you a checklist of all the things you need to do to optimize your listing. Okay. And it's done in a simple, you got check boxes here, so you can't screw it up. You basically just go from top down to bottom. And then there's also some tools in here you can use to help you out, including the link for Whitespark, which helps you with the citations. If you've changed addresses recently, or there are, that stuff's a little messed up, you need help with it, you can use that service. Then, yeah, that's the spreadsheet, but I've actually got a video walkthrough on how you do all of these things in detail here on our site. So the way you find this, if you just go to Google and you type in Google My Business Ylopo, the very first result you're going to get under the ads that show up will be this page here. And this here is a 1-hour training on everything you need to do, all the little boxes you need to check. And if you click below it, you'll actually get access to the checklist that I just shared with you. So this is going to go through in detail everything you need to know. There's a breakdown here. I recommend if you're a busy agent right now, or you run a team, or you run an office, give this to one of your admins, someone who's really good with just doing tasks, and have them do it for you. It's not something you should really be doing yourself. But
yeah,
make sure
I want to jump in on that too, Kiwi, because as an agent, our time is very valuable, right? So we want to make sure that we're doing the most high value activity for our time that we can do, which generally speaking is sitting in front of high intent buyers and sellers as often as possible, not going in and doing, Google My Business profiles and updates and things of that nature. So this is a perfect task to outsource to an admin or bring somebody in on a project basis, whatever it takes, because honestly, we can get so tied in the weeds of doing something we're not good at anyway. But that is why I asked you, for the agents that are going to tackle it themselves, how difficult is it? Are we talking like an hour's worth of time to get it set up and 10 minutes a week beyond that for maintenance? Like, give me an idea what that looks like.
Yeah, I would say it's a couple of hours to set it up, maybe 2 to 3 hours to set it up. Obviously, claiming the listing, it takes a little while because you got to wait for the postcard. But the actual optimization of your account, you can watch my video, you can go through, and you can have it all set up and done in 2 to 3 hours, like on a weekend. And then after that, it requires probably an hour a week, or maybe 20 minutes on a Monday, 20 minutes on a Wednesday, 20 minutes on a Friday. Three times a week, you should be posting into there, replying to reviews. Just, like I said, those products and the news feed, you just want to post into those. So you're actively using the Google My Business. That's one of the signals that Google looks for. And then that's it. I mean, you're pretty much off to the races after that. It's just, yeah, it's that simple.
Love it. It's great information, both from you and G. Is there anything else we need to cover, or can we jump into questions?
Let's go into questions.
Let's do it.
All righty. I'll let you hit them, Kiwi.
Yeah. What was the link for the training I referenced? So what you want to do is just go to Google, type in Google My Business Ylopo, and Ylopo is Y-L-O-P-O. The first organic result that's going to come up is a link to our site. That's where you're going to find the training. And the little button underneath for the sheet, which has the checklist of everything, that's got all the links in it. So that'll link you out to Whitespark. That'll link you out to the other service I use. One of the things for optimizing your account is posting photos. You want to post all of your agents' pictures. You want to post pictures of the office, and you want to make sure that those photos are taken locally, like done on a digital camera locally from your area, because Google looks at your photos and sees where they came from. And if you've got someone in India or someone overseas posting photos that are from stock photography, that's a red flag and it'll actually hurt your results. So make sure they're local photos. If they're not local photos, you can run them through a tool called the Geo Imager, and you can what they call geotag them for your location. That way all your content looks to Google like it's organically created in your location. So you're going to rank better.
And I'm betting that people on this call right now or in this webinar right now are thinking, oh, shoot, I got virtual assistants in the Philippines. How am I going to make that work? So, again, the geotagging is really good. To me, it just sounds like such a perfect task, both setting this up and the maintenance of it with assistants, virtual assistants, executive assistants, whatever you got working with you, rather than you as an agent trying to manage it yourself. All right, questions. There's somebody that posted a question here, Kiwi, about getting hold of Google to fix a problem because they had a dual. Did you see that one?
No, it's tough to get hold of Google.
Yeah.
I mean, we're very, very lucky because we're onboarding about 300, 350 clients, a month right now and ramping up quickly. So we've got a whole team we work with at Google. So we handle a lot of that for our clients. So, but if you're not, working with someone, it's tough. I mean, it's a big pain in the butt. I get it.
So next question, what do we got, Kiwi? What do you want to answer?
Let's see. If it is an issue, is it an issue if people copy and paste reviews to all of the sites, or does that flag you? Yeah, you don't want to copy and paste reviews. Reviews should be unique and come from the actual person. You shouldn't be copying and pasting stuff. You'll get flagged.
How about an aggregator? When you get some of these review sites where you can aggregate to 3 or 4 different places, would Google work with that?
Yeah, most of those aggregator companies, they know the rules, and they're not going to do something that's going to get you flagged. So you're fine, but just be careful about doing that stuff yourself because you don't know the rules and you could run into some issues.
100% agree. Do you have any recommendation for a website or program to do geotag photos?
Yeah, Geo Imager. It's in that sheet that I shared.
I saw that in the spreadsheet.
Yeah, it's in that spreadsheet. Oh, I'm sorry, I've got too many. But yeah, anyway, look in that spreadsheet. It's in the bottom there. I've got a list of the links. Geo Imager, G is the one I use.
All right.
Yeah, this is a good one. Should I use a different phone number on GMB than on my LSA ads? So yes, you can. So just so you understand, with the LSA ads, the number you give them, they're not going to actually use that in the ad. They use their own number in the ad for call tracking and for recording, and they forward to the number that you give them. So you can give them like a number that routes to your whole team. You can give them your own personal cell number, but like G said earlier, make sure whatever number you give them, you've got someone who's picking up those calls real quickly and no one's missing them. But yeah, for GMB itself, you can also use a number, a call tracking number. There's 2 places you can put the phone numbers. So you want to make sure the main business phone number that you're putting everywhere else is in there, but you've also got the call tracking number. So you can actually have both. So you are able to track those and it doesn't hurt you.
Here's a good one. What's the best source of keywords in our specific areas?
That is a good question. There's 2 types of keywords. Is what's called broad match and long tail. Broad match would be like homes for sale, Minnesota, homes for sale, Minneapolis, right? You're never going to rank for a broad match keyword like home for sale or sell my home in the major areas you service. So you've got it because all the portals to basically dominate all those keywords. They've got so much SEO, so many links, so many things which make them rank that you're just not going to be able to compete with them and it's not worth your time. So this is why I love LSA. This is why I love GMB, because the portals can't compete with you on those platforms, right? They're not in there and they don't have the local brick and mortar office like you guys do. So this is a great strategy for you guys to be able to compete with those, those sort of terms. But you want to go for SEO keywords. You want to go long tail. like homes for sale, Minneapolis, on golf courses, or $1 million and above.
Right, right.
Just real specific types of properties, or homes with casitas, and swimming pools from this price point to this price point, and then create those sort of landing pages. But you want to make sure on those landing pages, you put a good amount of copy in there. You don't just put the keywords in a title and throw in a couple of pictures. You really want to put some nice content around it and a landing page with the properties so that you can monetize that traffic.
Love it. Love it. Okay, so we've got another one here. Where did it just go? Recommendations to collect aggregate reviews. I don't know if you guys want to give recommendations on that. There's ones I've seen out there in kind of views, but how about you guys?
I'm going to stay away from that, because these companies are,
yeah,
they can be great today and horrible tomorrow. And it's just hard to keep up with them. I would say do your own research and just be careful.
They're not hard to find. Just do some Googling, you'll find them. All right, what else we got here, guys? Let's see.
Doesn't look like we answered quite a lot.
I think we have. We got a ton done. Is there any last minute questions before we go? Any other topics we got to cover here? How long does Ylopo take to set up? Gee, that's a G question.
He's on mute. I can answer that one. You're about 30 days on average. A lot of it depends on your IDX, feeds and your sort of MLS that we're getting all the information from, because we integrate all that data into all of your marketing. So everything's done dynamically. So there's a lot of integration work that goes on, as well as we build our clients a beautiful IDX driven branded website. So all of that happens sort of in that first 30 days.
What I would recommend, I'm a Ylopo user myself. What I would recommend, if you're not familiar with their products, jump on a demo, talk to somebody, see what they do, because we're never going to be able to cover it right now, during this webinar, but they do an amazing job in digital marketing. They're way ahead of the curve on everything. So, it's worth your time to sit down with Ylopo and see what they can do for your business. Now, somebody did ask a question about throwing away their Google My Business. Where was that question? Threw away my Google My Business.
I saw that. You can just log back into your account and have them resend it.
Yeah.
I do see another question here. Will Ylopo help with GMB doing that optimization? So as of right now, we don't actually do this for you. We may be adding this in pretty soon. We're actually beta testing it with a bunch of clients. So, I just gave you guys everything you need to do. So, but it's not something we're looking to make money on. It's something we feel is really important to your business. We want to make sure you guys do it right. So, this webinar is all about showing you what you need to do, trying to make it as easy as possible. I'm going to give you my email as well. If you do have follow-up questions, if you get stuck, feel free to email me. It's Kiwi, Kiwi, @ylopo.com.
And I love the way that you guys are helping agents really dominate their local markets. We talk about large portals, we talk about large nationals, but you guys are giving tools right now, and I hope you guys are picking this up, that you're learning about tools to dominate your local market at a local level. So, I think that's great that you're taking time out of your day to show people how to do that.
Yeah, just one last question here from Kim. Any recommendations you have for set up a GMB LSA for husband and wife team? Is there a way to market the two of us with one account? Yeah. I mean, for your GMB, as a husband and wife team, you probably have one location. I wouldn't imagine you both have two separate offices. So.
Well, I don't know. Kiwi, depends with you. You're always in the doghouse. That could be, in your marriage. So I'm thinking that could be where the second address could be right there. You got the doghouse.
Yeah. All too well. But yeah, no, your GMB is location based. So as a husband and wife team, you guys would share a location. So that'll be one account. LSA is not as location based. So that's a different product, but you guys just combine your team, just have the number come to, a number you both of you can split. You can use call action or something and round robin it, but yeah, you guys are fine. You can combine those into one account. I don't know if ISA GMB, Yvonne Koo, you're a client and you're in Las Vegas. Email me, Kiwi@Ylopo. I'll look after you.
Let's see. All right, I think we got the guys. I think we got it. Anything else you want to? Any imparting wisdom, G or Kiwi? Probably more likely from G. Any imparting wisdom that we can leave the audience with?
Well, you guys all have it. You know, what's interesting is it looks like Google My Business, a lot of questions, right? And it's like the critical component to long-term getting the reviews for your LSA. So if you took nothing away from here, I'd say get your LSA set up, try to spend as much as you can, do all the optimization steps we outlined, and then in the meantime, build up your reviews on your GMB and get that all straight, right? If you can get all of that done, I think you're going to be in the 1% and you're going to get more calls than you think.
How about you, Kiwi? Got any imparting thoughts?
G just nailed it. I mean, number one thing you should take away is that reviews are incredibly important. Don't try and send them all to Zillow or any of these other portals right now. You're going to have a lot more, you're going to get much better long-term results with Google. I mean, so Yelp is good, but again, they change the rules all the time. I think Google's just a safer, they are the #1 search traffic, site in the world. Throw all your eggs into the basket and go.
And I'll leave you guys with this thought from an agent and broker perspective. Consumers want to trust the agents they work with. Reviews are so important because they're actually leveraging other people's trust, because that's what they're looking for. When they're shopping for an agent, that's what they want to see. And also the other thing, it's so important to make sure your phone systems are set up that when the calls come in, there's somebody at the other end of that. I cannot stress that enough, how much lost opportunity there is in not picking up the phone. If you're set up correctly, that your phone's always rolling over to somebody, and if it's not going to be you, if it's going to be somebody in your team or ISAs or a broadcast on your team, you're going to do much better than trying to rely on only you that can pick your phone up. So that's my advice, to impart upon you as we go.
One other last one would get a good headshot. Spend the money, get a professional headshot done, because LSA, that's the top thing, the first thing that they see. Google My Business, you're going to be able to place it in there as well. So I just see so many really bad headshots that it just makes me cringe. So please don't be one of those people.
Okay, the last thing, we had a question come in. How would you handle if you have a large brokerage and you live in a gated community? So I am one of the owners of a large brokerage, over 600 people on our roster. So my agents are going to have the exact same problem. This is where I would recommend, if you're going to really double down and put some energy into generating leads locally this way, you probably want to find a local small space you can rent for cheap, for a few $100 a month, just to have the address. Because as you're hearing what it's done for people's business, when you do this correctly, you might spend a few grand a year. If you can't do one deal because you're putting all this work into this local service ads and Google My Business, something's wrong with that. You're going to do more than one deal. You're going to come out ahead.
Yep. All
right. Ladies and gents, thank you for joining us. The one, the only Ylopo, Kiwi, and G. Thanks so much. Have a great day, everybody.
Thank you, everyone.
Bye-bye.